With Zion dominating college basketball, I see him going as number 1 in this year's draft. Some people disagree or simply think he's going to fail in the NBA, so I decided to compare Zion to the last 3 number 1 draft picks. These players include DeAndre Ayton, Markelle Fultz, and Ben Simmons. At the end of each comparison, I'm going to be choosing who is better in 8 different categories. A big argument around Zion is that he doesn't have a trustable jump shot. Prior to January, his field goal percentage outside the paint was only 37.5%. So instead of a jump shot, when Zion is in the post, he normally either powers past his opponent and shoots, or passes back out to a teammate. I've also heard some people call Zion a ball hog, which doesn't really make any sense because he passes quite a lot and he has a 68% field goal percentage, which ranks him 12th all-time in college. Although Zion is 285 pounds, he is the most explosive player in college basketball with a 40-inch vertical, and in my opinion is as athletic as anyone in the NBA. As the number 1 pick in the 2018 NBA draft, we have DeAndre Ayton. Coming in at 7 foot, 235 pounds during his time at Arizona, he seems like he would be a player that dominates down low, which he does, but him and Zion both have the capabilities of playing positions their bodies weren't meant to play. For example, when Ayton is posting up down low, he has multiple options. In these 2 clips, he's playing from similar positions but ends up shooting 2 completely different shots. In the first example, Ayton realizes that a quick spin around layup will work fine. But in the very next play, Ayton sees that number 15 on help defense is more aware and ready for a drive to the basket. So instead, Ayton does the same spin move, but then drains a step back jumper. At 7 feet tall, that shot is pretty much unblockable. For the number 1 pick in the 2017 NBA draft, we have Markelle Fultz. This is the hardest comparison though, due to Fultz being a guard, and he had to rely on a pretty bad Washington team. But coming in at 6'4", 185 pounds, Fultz obviously didn't have the size that Zion did, so instead, he relied on his shooting and playmaking abilities. When watching Fultz play, it seemed like he managed to get past as many defenders as he needed to. His instincts and ball handling abilities helped him tremendously on offense, and is the reason he went as a number 1 pick. Even though he is only 6'4", his wingspan is 6'10" and allows him to shoot over players. And even though his offense was great, his defense was lacking and he almost seemed lazy at times. This wasn't a huge problem, but was a worry that NBA teams had. For the number 1 pick in 2016, we have Ben Simmons. I believe he is the player who is the most comparable to Zion, as they both lack shooting but are very explosive and athletic players. 2 downsides to Simmons is that he had the ability to be physical, but he would often back away from physical plays and not contribute enough on defense. Earlier in this video, I talked about Zion not having a trustworthy jumper, but Simmons' shot is really bad. It's almost like he didn't know how to shoot a basketball. Even though I'm making it sound like Simmons didn't deserve the number 1 pick, I believe that his athleticism and his potential as a basketball player made him well deserving of a number 1 pick. Lastly, I'm going to be picking 1 player for each of these 8 categories. For athleticism, Zion stands out as the most athletic one, and I feel like we can all agree on that. For size, Ayton is the tallest at 7 foot, and he's also really strong. For quickness, Ben Simmons wins. Most people don't realize how fast Simmons actually is, so here's a clip of him running down the court. Markelle Fultz may have had a horrible shot in the NBA, but during his time at Washington, he actually had a pretty good shot. And since Fultz is also the only guard in the video, he's the best ball handler. Next we have basketball IQ. Zion wins this one because he knows when he should take a shot or when to pass. This reflects in his 68% shooting percentage. For passing, many people don't know that Simmons is almost ambidextrous. He's able to pass at the same speed with both hands, so defenders can't predict his movements as easily. For defense, Zion wins because of his ability to block shots that no one else can, and he's a hard-working defender that doesn't just slack off because of his fame.